Hiya, it's Hannah the Artisan Duck, the face behind the voice and the floating pair of hands and beads and clay. I thought it'd be fun to try and do some vlogs to fill the gaps between the tutorials on YouTube, because the tutorials take me quite a long time to put together sometimes, so these long gaps where I don't upload anything. So I thought if I do some vlogs, I can bring you behind the scenes. You can see sort of the planning, the jewellery making, all those little aspects, snippets from my Etsy shop, and then maybe some other random bits put in as well. Who knows, let's see. It's not quite the chilled start I'd hoped for, as I've got some electricians due in a minute to do some work on the house for me. So, and that wasn't like necessarily planned, it was my letting agent sent them. Anyway, so whilst they're here, I'm hoping to maybe pack an Etsy order, work on a beading tutorial, I think for Etsy, and maybe plan out the start of a polymer clay tutorial for YouTube as well on my blog. So I shall hopefully record some snippets and come back to you when they've left. Right, so it's the next day now, because there was a lot of noise and a lot of chatter with the electrical work yesterday, and I had to stop crafting and sort of see what was happening there. There's a lot of drilling through walls and taking tiles off, and it was very messy and quite a tedious process. So I'm back today now. I have spent the morning cleaning though, so I haven't done any more work yet, and now it's lunchtime. So it's a beautiful day. I might take my lunch out in the garden, and then hopefully before school kick-out time I can get some polymer clay work done. I just thought I'd make a quick salad because I got some pasta to have for lunch, and I thought if I make a quick salad to go with it and put in stuff that the kids will eat, that this will partly do for their dinner tonight to go with whatever we're having. Yeah, and I've also got my washing machine on, sorry. I've got company. If there's food, this one will always come and find me, but he's not having my food, I better feed him. I've got these two for company. They're sitting literally right behind me on the fence, having a chatter. And my cat is down here as well, completely ignoring them, which is good, but aren't they funny? Right, so possibly slightly strange angle, but you're sort of sitting on my rather squashed desk with me at the minute. The school day is nearly done, and I've only just had lunch and had a quick turn around the garden, but hey ho. So quickly, before the kids are home, I thought I'd quickly plan out my polymer clay tutorial so I can sort of have a feel for where I'm going when I actually come to make it, because there's nothing worse in my mind just getting everything out and not really knowing what you want to do. When I plan these tutorials, I'm always trying to weigh up how complicated or how simple to make them, because I don't want them to be so simple that people are like, yeah, I could do that, I don't need to watch her make that. But equally, the more complicated they are, people just don't watch all the way through, and I think there's no point me making a 40-minute video if people are watching literally 5 minutes and going, yeah, I got it, and moving on. So I always try to find that balance. I'm pretty rubbish at it, but I shall turn the camera around and I shall show you kind of where I'm going with it and what I'm thinking. Yeah, and then maybe we'll have to do the actual making tomorrow. We'll see. Right, so obviously this is just a random picture I found online, but I thought it'd be quite fun to make a daisy polymer clay cane. It probably won't be totally like a daisy, like I won't be able to put that many petals in it, because that'll start getting very complicated, but I like the idea of a bright yellow centre and then obviously the white petals. So now to decide how complicated to make it. Right, so I've just got a random piece of paper, but I like to draw out what I'm going to do, like what my ideas are, and then I can get a feeling for whether it's going to work. So I'm just going to sort of doodle away, see what I can come up with, and we'll go from there. So I was thinking, because the centre, I could either go for like an orange, but I think that might be too near. If you look really closely at some of the pictures, the centres look like they've got green in them as well, so I thought if I do a bit of green and yellow. So I'm just going to literally draw out what it could end up looking like. And then I know how this translates into techniques for the actual baking aspect, if that makes sense. And then I thought I would do it with a light blue surround, so I'm going to draw the petals in with a light blue. So now, do I add petals behind, or is that just going to make it too complicated? I think adding all the petals behind will make it too complicated, because we'd have to shade in maybe in a different colour, because otherwise the petals would all look the same. So if I did it, the back petals in like a light blue, and then went, the surrounding was a slightly darker blue, but I think that might look weird. Otherwise you're going to end up with white petals. If you did them all white, they would all blend in, and I could make them grey so they look like they're in shadow, but equally I would worry that that would almost make it look kind of, what am I thinking, a bit depressing to have the grey with sort of the bright summery feeling, because then I didn't want to go too dark on the surround. I wanted to keep the whole thing relatively light and airy. So then if I did the edging a slightly darker blue, so I'm just trying to see what type of contrast I would get. That kind of thing. I know it's not perfect, but it just helps me visualize what I'm doing. See that? I'm worried if I do that, and then obviously the edging of it would be that blue as well. So that's, say, imagine this is the colour of the bead, and this is the flower that we're putting on the bead. So we'd have lots of flowers, but that this would be the base colour. See if I can find a bead to show you what I mean. I think I've got some flower beads here somewhere. Yes. So this is a rose bead that I made, and the dark blue surrounds the flower. So you're always going to have that dark blue with the flower pattern inside, but on this one the flower actually has the same dark blue in it, so it doesn't get lost, because you've got the same colour inside the flower as you have on around the flower. But on this one I was going to do it blue with the light flower in the middle. So I think if I make the outer edge too dark, I'm trying to tidy my desk up as I go along, I'm worried it's going to make it look like it's getting lost. So I shall just doodle some ideas and see what my favourite one is. I'm just going to ignore the fact that those petals are completely uneven. I start to rush at this point because I know I'm running out of time, and this is not where I need to be spending my time trying to be perfect. I just need to get the job done. So I'm wondering if I just make it so that my phone keeps going off. If I just make it sort of more like, so the flowers standing out much more vibrant, and just surrounding the flower in the same blue, so sort of between the petals, so the petals don't merge together in that blue, and then around that way, so you get a much more like visual impact with the finished product. It's going to be stand out far more, is what I'm trying to say. You'll see it more clearly than with it all sort of blurring into one like that. So I think I like this better already, even though my drawing is utterly lousy. I think this is what I'm going to do. So my next option now is to think about, do I want to add any detail into the petals? So there's two options for that. Let me just finish this little scribble. So the first option is that I use sort of a translucent clay, and I'm just using the light one for the sakes, and do some little lines in it so the flower has a bit of detail like that. Or we make like a Skinner blend with a slightly darker blue, or not necessarily a dark blue, but something for contrast. Again, if I put grey in for a shadow, I'm just worried it's going to make it look like really dull. So we could use a blue and just sort of go up the petals a little bit like that, so you get a little bit of it's like detailing. And the yellow, and then my petals. I always start off really big on this side and then get smaller as I go around. Where's my light blue? So each petal would have a it would fade out to white at the top, and just maybe be a little bit of blue at the bottom, but a lighter blue, just to give it that sense of dimension, I suppose. I quite like that. And then go in with a slightly darker blue all the way around. Yeah, I think I prefer that. I think once you've like wrapped the green properly, obviously my green is fading out, it'll be a lot starker than that. That's not visually very nice. That's kind of what I want to go for, but with some shading on those petals. The clay will never be this soft. I'll always aim for a reasonably high-ish contrast so you can see all the elements of it, but also make sure that they work together. But it'll always be crisper than this coloured pencil drawing, so that's something to bear in mind. It's a few days later now, and I haven't had any time to sit at my desk for various reasons. One of them being the cat needed to go to the vets as an emergency because he's been fighting and has got himself a nasty infection. So he's now sulking because he has one of them cone things on him. I'll see if I can catch him in a minute. He doesn't actually know what to do with himself, so he's just hovering around me. And I had all my electrical work done. I had plumbers the other week because I had various things that needed sorting. And I've just walked into the kitchen to find that there's a drip coming through my ceiling and the bathroom's above it. So that's really, really good. So I'm now waiting for a plumber to come. I know you're cross and I know you want to go out, but you can't. Yeah, I know. I've tried to give him some treat food, but it's not worked. So let's soften some clay up ready for when I actually get to make this cane. So when I make tutorials, I always try to get everything ready first, and then it's just a case of making it and filming it all in one go. And what I'll often do is make one for the blog and one for YouTube. So in terms of polymer clay, that means making the whole cane twice, which can sometimes be a little frustrating because obviously I end up with a lot of cane and it's just very time consuming. So I think because the week has run away with me this week and I'm not going to have as much time as I wanted to, I think I'm going to try and film the tutorial, and then, I don't know, maybe take some stills from the tutorial and try to sort of put that as a tutorial as well, but the main focus will be on the recording aspect, because I think it's easier for people to watch exactly what I'm doing as opposed to me just write it down. But I do get quite a lot of views on my blog, so it's nice to keep that going like that. I've just realised you can't see what I'm doing. I'm softening white clay. It's the same colour as the tile, so I'm going to get this clay soft. I've cleaned my pasta machine already, which is a job I hate doing, and then I'm going to start mixing up some paler blue and some pale green, and I've got my yellow that I've got is really bright, so I'm going to make that slightly more muted as well, and then I should hopefully be ready to make my daisy cane. And with the joys of working with white is that every bit of dust finds its way in, and it doesn't help that I cut this yesterday and then had to walk away from it. I had that many phone calls yesterday that every time I tried to film, somebody was messaging me or ringing me. It was just constant. So let's see what I can get done today before a plumber arrives. Right, so the plumbers have been and gone, and I have a leaky pipe in my bathroom, so that's good. They're going to come back next week, and they've tightened something up now to stop it from actually leaking, but they need to replace the pipework. So that's next week's fun already mapped out, so that's great. I'm just starting on the yellow clay now for the tutorial. And it's 2 o'clock already, so I'm going to have to be on school pickup very soon, and maybe some housework, and that's it. That's my day gone. It's no wonder I don't get much done sometimes. Anyway, so I'm going to carry on working on some clay for a little bit, probably get another cup of tea because it's that kind of day, and then I'm going to go off and do some housework. Such fun. Right, so I'm just about to work out my light blue colour, which is going to be surrounding the cane. So because I want to be able to mix this again should I need to, because this is going to be my base bead colour as well, I always measure out how much clay I'm using so I can get exactly the same mix before. So I use a circle cutter, so I'm just going to cut my circles. I think I might try and do 3 circles, and obviously this clay is the same thickness as each other, so I'm going to get exactly the same amount when I cut the circles. So that's 3, and I'm going to go in for just 1 of the blue, so we'll mix that together and I'll see what kind of blue that gives me, whether it's light enough or whatever. See how it feels, and then I can always add another circle of blue or add more white, but every time then I need to mix it, As long as I used exactly the same recipe, I will get exactly the same colour. I wasn't bothered for the inside of the flower because those greens and yellows, it doesn't really matter. But because this is my base bead colour, it's going to have to match when I make the jewellery. So that's what I'm doing. Right, so that's the blue I'm left with after mixing. So that's 3 white to 1 blue. And you can see I'm putting it with the white because obviously my flower petals are going to be white. And I want to make sure that there's a sufficient contrast between the two, because otherwise the pattern will just disappear. It won't be sort of have enough impact. So you want to have a reasonable contrast between your colours, just so you can see that. And I actually think that's quite nice. I quite like that blue. It's not too pastel, but I think it'll look really nice with the daisies. So I'm going to go with that. So I'm just going to whip up a little bit more of that mix, and then I'm going to have to crack on and do some housework.